This is how you do it.
Yeah, exactly. You guys have like a full thing going on here.
So, welcome everyone to another episode of Here for the Hang. And today I'm here with two friends of mine, the co-host of the Cover to Cover podcast, Mr. Chris Franjola and Alex Conn. Welcome to the show.
This is exciting.
Thank
Isn't
you
it,
for
Alex?
having me.
Yeah, we're happy to be here. Thank you, Carlisle, for coming to that backyard.
To your house for
Oh,
once.
my house, yeah, which is, this is our podcast studio. This is where we do cover to cover.
Isn't it beautiful? Much more beautiful than my studio, which you guys have seen, where there's a bed in the shot. So this
is
nice.
your bed? Do you live in a studio?
Little bit. You get a corner of the bed, but what are you going to do? The content's the same.
I lived in a studio here in Los Angeles for many years. I absolutely loved it. I loved it. I was like into Chelsea lately, like, doing pretty well, and people would come over and go, "Why are you here? Like, go move on to something better." And it was hard for me to let it go.
But just because you're never home as a comic, so my whole thing has always been I want to pay the cheapest amount of money, throw my stuff down, and go because I need to be out hustling and working. I don't want my house to be a sanctuary. Meanwhile, now we come to the pandemic. And I would really like to have something like this because you basically can't have friends unless you have an outdoor space to invite them to.
This is it. Yeah, that's why you're here.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't COVID.
I tried to get Chris to come to my studio once again, and that was a hard no. And,
it's a hard no, because you first of all you gave me the coordinates of where it is, and that's like the worst parking part of the city, and that's all I'm that old where all I think about is parking now. So when I hear like Fairfax, and I'm like, nope, not going there. There's no way I'm going to anywhere with no street parking.
You can't do it. And so now, thanks to that invite, I got myself a spot on the Cover to Cover Patreon podcast.
Yeah,
so weaseled my way into that gig.
Well, we were happy to have you.
Kind of invited myself, but y'all go check that out on their Patreon. I love Cover to Cover, so it was so nice to be inside one of my favorite podcasts. When did you guys start doing that?
About almost 2 years ago. We started
of 2018.
End of 2018 in December, I believe we began. And yeah, it's been, thank God, because I don't, podcasts were an interesting thing for me. I don't know, you feel the same way. I thought I was dumb and thought there were too many of them and people, nobody's going to listen, but it doesn't make any difference. People will find them if they like them. And I watched a couple of my friends get real successful from them, and they started late even. So I jumped on board, and thank God. It's been great. I love doing it.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, if you don't have a podcast, how do you connect? Like, what's your social? To me, this is a hang.
Yeah,
right.
That's why I started Here for the Hang, because I just want to hang out with comics all the time. That's all I ever want to do. They're the most fun, most interesting people in the world.
Who do you hang with for the most part, like out in the comedy world? Who is your hangs?
My hangs?
Like, and where do you hang? Like, what is the comedy? I'm not out on the scene much anymore.
You don't do the comedy hang. You do your spot, you get in, you get out.
Yeah, I don't do the comedy hangs anymore, which I used to love. But then again, that's not true because I never really hung with comedians. I hung more with like waiters and bartenders early on.
Right.
Nobody was comedians. And then, then it was like the Chelsea Lately era where I hung with those guys. But none of us in that world were ever like down at the Comedy Store. We were all, I think if you put all of us on Chelsea Lately together, we probably played the Comedy Store 10 times.
Right.
So that wasn't our thing.
Well, you guys didn't need it.
But still, I don't think Chelsea's ever played the Comedy Store.
I mean, they are very much their own cult, too.
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah.
when you show up on an off night, they look at you like, tonight's not your night to be here. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, that's the way I always felt. I never felt comfortable in that place. I always felt like it was their world.
Well, if you're not a roaster, it can be a bad place.
And
And I'm not a hateful.
Don't get me started with the road. Like
I can't do it. I can't be that hateful. That it all comes out of a seed of hate, and I don't like that. It's a dark
First of
energy
all,
for me.
I'll say this about roasting. I believe it's one of the easiest comedy muscles you have. Mm-hmm. It's like roasting jokes is just that's mom my mama jokes. It's comedy 101 as far as I'm concerned. There are people who are great at it, like I think Mike Lawrence and Sarah Tiana write really good ones, and then there's everyone else. But there, Jeff Ross is great too. But creating that world that became whatever it is over there now.
Yeah.
That's the roast world, and it now is in every comedy club. We do roast night. I'm like, that's just creating people who can't. They don't have an hour.
Yeah.
That beat is not going to work in the real world. Unless
Those
you
are
have
jokes you'll never use again.
exactly. Unless you have a
So
fat guy
much-
standing next to you on stage, you're not going to be able to do this
Right.
anywhere. So
Right.
I mean, I feel like it was. I don't know if it's dead or it's still going. I mean, whatever. I feel like it was creating not bad comics, just the wrong kind of comic to be out in the real world.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's a whole clique. I mean, Alex,
I feel like
we're
it's-
not in that clique.
Yeah, it's too formulaic. I mean, it's you look like so and so with Down syndrome.
Right.
You know, it's just like it's too. I don't know. It's
I
too.
know.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Can I just say how nice it is to be in your beautiful backyard? It's
See that
very
squirrel?
festive. There's a
Yeah.
squirrel.
You're
He's
gonna watch
scared
that.
of your scarecrow over there.
Yeah.
Just to do a little Melania. What's with all these fucking Halloween decorations? What's with
Sorry.
these
I
fucking
know you hate the
pumpkins?
holidays, Melania. Yeah.
Very festive. Very
Yeah.
festive indeed.
That is for my child. I put these things up because she, comes back here, and I can't just have. She needs to look at something, so I put
love
that
it.
stuff up
That-
for her.
that's a good dad.
Yeah.
Now, how did you two meet? Because I feel like this is an unlikely pairing, kind of.
Yeah, unlikely.
Two different
I mean,
parts
you should
of
hear
your
the
life.
real. Story. Like before we go to air, we have two completely differing
Yeah.
opinions on the world and life.
Everything.
But it does work. I don't know. He was my sound guy just when I went to Comedy Pop-Up. We all know Comedy Pop-Up is
Yeah.
like it's just thing that they do out here. And he had been asking me to do a podcast for a long time, and I finally said, I'll do it.
He comedy pop up, not me.
Yeah, Nick Comedy Pop-Up. And so I went down to the studio. That was like this little play. Everyone knows it from our podcast in Koreatown. And Alex was just my sound guy.
Yeah. I work there 1 day a week, 2 days a
Right.
week.
And I had no idea how, kind of what I was going to do with it. But it just felt weird not talking to Alex. I was just talking to myself, and he was sitting there.
Right.
So we started to chat, and then he had some interesting stuff to say. But then, of course, he needed to be molded.
Yeah.
He was, and we
You're still molding him.
I'm a
No, we-
Vegas bar comic, and your
Right.
crowd are 45-year-old women, so it just doesn't.
Exactly. Once we figured all that out, like we figured this, this is who we're talking to. We're talking to our, it's our crowd, and we got there, and that it's like 45-year-old women, and we love it. But that's our crowd, so we relish it now.
Yeah.
That's
no,
why I had
I
you guys
love it,
on.
but-
I'm trying to get the 45-year-old women
I
crowd to
gotta
follow me.
tell you,
I got
you-
nothing but dudes
You
so
can't
far.
you can't have a better crowd.
Nope.
They come out
I
to
love
comedy
'em.
clubs. They buy your shit. They're about as good as you can have.
I'm
as a
glad I've
crowd.
been molded.
Yeah. Look at that. They love this guy now. They love him.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they were calling for his head the first 6 months of the podcast.
at the
They were
beginning,
like,
it was-
I will not listen if he speaks ever again.
Really?
Yeah.
They hated
mhm.
me.
But now they love him.
Jeez. Are you getting a sugar mama out of this?
Nope.
Have you experienced
They
any
want
of
him.
that?
They wanted him.
Yeah,
All
you got
these
that look
ladies were-
about
Yeah,
you.
all these ladies were coming for him.
You look
Yeah.
real trainable.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh. Trainable.
Well,
That's what we want to hear.
Yeah.
He looks trainable.
You said you're a Vegas bar comic. Are
Yeah.
you from Vegas?
I'm born and
He
raised in
is.
Vegas.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's a rare. You don't meet a lot of people that are like from Vegas.
Second gen. My mom was born there too. We've been there a while. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Did she work at a casino?
No, she's a teacher.
See,
yeah.
you just assume. You just
Yeah, you
generalize.
Yeah, they're like outskirts of Vegas,
Henderson.
Not even really. Yeah, he's out in Henderson.
No, I was
No.
born in Henderson.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was born in Henderson. Yeah.
But he's not even really like a casino. Well, he worked in casinos.
Yeah,
but
I worked in
he's-
casinos,
He's not
but-
like a gambler or anything.
No.
Thank God, he'd probably be broke if he was.
yeah.
More broke than he already is.
Yeah, I mean-
should say.
We're scraping as it is.
Yeah.
Let alone with a gambling addiction.
Yeah. that
Again,
would be-
subscribe to their Patreon, cover to cover. Let's get.
Or let's just get you in the door. Check out the regular podcast. We'll get you to the Patreon.
Yeah,
I
get
feel
your
good about
Patreon.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
cover
that's
to
good.
cover.
Yeah.
Carlisle. So who is your hang?
Yeah, who do
you
you
hang
hang?
with?
So usually my girls are Monterey Martinez.
All right.
I've worked with her once
yeah.
down at the little place in Huntington Beach.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very hilarious comic. Nikki Bond. You guys remember her from the last episode of Here for the Hang. Zara Ali, of course.
I like her a lot.
My
She's
former
very sweet.
podcast
Yeah,
partner.
yeah.
We used to have the Two Girls, One Guy podcast for a long time. And then Nikki Glazer is
Oh, yeah, right.
my
You
best
hang with
friend.
Nikki. Yeah,
and
yeah.
And another mentor that is really.
But now, is she still out in St. Louis, or she moved on from there? She was like
she's
staying
in
with her
St.
parents or
Louis.
something, right?
She's in St. Louis and thinking probably New York.
She'll go to New York
After-
next. Yeah. Well, good for her.
Of course, I
That
want
was
her
like
to
kind
come
of a
back
good
to,
move. I remember when she first went to the parents early on in the pandemic. I was like, that's a little ridiculous, but who knew it was going to go this long?
I had a hand in that. I got to say, I told her, get on the plane and go to St. Louis. This isn't a week thing that's going to blow over. And she's like, really? You think so? I go, you don't want to be stuck out in New York City by yourself in some cold apartment.
Yeah, that was a good call.
Just go home.
I'm a little
Thank
jealous of it,
God.
actually. When I watch her there hanging out with the father playing
great.
songs and stuff, I think I would like to be doing that.
Yeah. I went home to Mississippi for a month. That was a little too long, but, it's fun to get out of L.A. because I don't know if you guys know this, coronavirus isn't as strong in the South.
No, I've seen it. I've been
they're
down
almost
there.
cured of it down there.
Yeah, I was performing in Oklahoma City a few weeks ago, and it's not even there.
Oh,
It
it's
didn't even make
gone
it in.
already.
Yeah,
Wow.
it didn't. Much like human beings, even coronavirus doesn't want to go to Oklahoma City. So, so that's fun.
Yeah, and luckily now we know it's possible to be cured of it in a day.
Yeah, we learned that. Yeah. I mean, it's just what a world we're living in. Here we are.
I bought the coin too.
You did. You got the commemorative
You guys,
coin.
there's a commemorative coin that you can get for $100 that says Trump defeated COVID.
Yeah.
It's going to be minted and everything.
You're not going to get it till November, so it's it's just unbelievable. I don't know where you stand on all this, but we didn't.
Well, this is not a political podcast.
No, but it's almost hard not to be these days. You can't, there's just no way.
That's what I hate about it. But I hate talking politics. Like, I feel like a 5-year-old in the booth at Denny's, just like, oh, this is so boring. Can we go?
Right.
Like, I just hate, because no matter what you say, people are going to attack you. And I hate hate. I hate hate online.
Right.
Twitter just it makes my blood boil.
Oh, it's the worst. And
except for your tweets. Your tweets are uplifting. They're not hateful.
Well, I mean, I try.
You're one of the few comics that's mastered that.
I used to be so good on Twitter, and now I've kind of like it was work, to come up with like real jokes and stuff. But it's too much work.
You have to be a hateful person to succeed at it.
That's how I feel about Facebook.
Oh, Facebook is the worst.
Yeah.
I think Facebook's worse than Twitter.
I don't even do Facebook. If you go on Facebook, I look like a real loser. I've got like less than 1,000 people, and I'm related to most of them. So don't find me on there.
But you're better off staying off it. Yeah, you don't need that.
I can't. But you guys, I just want to say it's thanks to y'all that I can even call myself a comic in 2020, because Chris, the one paid gig that I had in 2020 was performing with these two.
At a winery or something.
At a
right?
winery.
Winery/castle.
A castle winery.
Beautiful castle in Northern
Napa
California.
Valley.
Paso Robles.
Paso Robles. That's right.
Yeah.
Paso Robles. Yeah.
And you guys, this gig was quite a gig. I have to say.
Yeah, it was.
As gigs go, it's one of my favorites though, because Chris Franjola, one thing you're very skilled at. Well, there's many things you're skilled at, but you take a situation like that and you really make it hilarious. So let's set the scene
to
a
a
little
fault, I think. Sometimes people come to me after shows and go, honestly, it wasn't that bad. You were making more out of it than I wish you would have just done your act.
Because they don't know that is.
I
your shtick.
know. Yeah, but so sometimes I do it a little too much, and I feel like maybe I should have just stuck with the act.
Well, as it tends to happen in comedy shows, the PA was not working so well.
No, it was
terrible.
a PA to like announce, it was like for best man speeches.
Exactly,
Right.
This was a place.
And this was a large room, probably 300 people there, or close to it, and it just wasn't. It wasn't gonna work.
Not really built for comedy.
No.
But these people were here to see Chris, and
really-
it was sold out.
Yeah,
right?
they sold it out. That was fun.
They were big fans. So Alex started it off.
I am a sound guy by trade. That's what I do. And
Thank God you were there. You even made it a little better than it could have been.
I knew right away once I got up there, and because I think actually during my set, I think I tweaked with it a little bit.
Yeah.
And And then when I got off stage and and Carlisle came up, I went and I kind of played with it a little more, and I realized we were at capacity. But I knew right away, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be bad." And
it was just so quiet, and I have a loud ass voice. Like this is one of my. I need to work on it. Like I scream into the mic, so it's really no issue for me. Chris told me, he was like, "Look, Alex is gonna go up behind you and be messing with the sound, so just be prepared for that." So that was a little, throwing you off, but whatever, you work through it. And I yelled, and I feel like they heard me. Mm-hmm. But by the time Chris got up there, you don't play games. You don't scream into the mic. You just talk.
No, yeah. If the mic's good.
And by the time, Chris goes up, you got to remember we're at a winery. So they've been drinking wine all through Alex's set. They've been drinking wine all through my set. Now we get to Chris, the main event. Mm-hmm. And these old geezers are literally shouting, "We can't hear you!"
Looking up lifts from their calling Ubers.
This old man was on his phone the whole time. And finally, Chris just said, "What are you doing, sir? Do you realize there's live comedy happening?" He's like, "I'm trying to figure out Uber." He's no less than 75 years old, all right? And he's really struggling. He's really drunk.
Well, he was trying to figure out Uber because he wanted to leave, and the people he was with were pretty much like, "All right, go. You're making this shitty anyway."
Yes.
Yeah, it's all fun.
There was another guy that was just sleeping.
Yeah.
He had too much wine. He had a beard. He looked like Santa Claus. And he just closed his eyes, and he was in the front row. Mm-hmm. Franjola didn't give a fuck. He just keeps going with it.
If you've done it as long, I've played them all. I've played them all. Like none of that stuff just bothers me anymore.
You make the most out of it. I mean, that was such a hilarious night. What else happened?
It's a good thing we killed Comedy there forever, because that guy had this whole aspirations of having like a comedy series up there that we were going to be the first ones. So this was going to be a whole thing for him, and then we ended it that night. He's like, "No, this is not worth it." He
needs a better PA.
Yeah, I know. That's what I told him, but he was just like, "No, it's too much trouble."
Well, since I hosted and I started tinkering with, the sound system, during your whole set, I was getting angry people just coming up to me like, "You need to turn it up." And I'm like, "I did. It's up, dude. I don't work here."
Yeah, sound, people don't understand how important sound is in comedy. It is everything.
It is everything.
Laughter is loud, and you have to sit on top of it.
When you go to a club that has, like, I just came from Helium in Portland, and it's got to be like the best sound I've ever had in a comedy club. You could literally just whisper, and there's a bee by you. Sorry,
they'll get the whole thing.
Just everything is just perfect, and that's when it really works.
Shout out to Helium Comedy Club. I'm ready to come anytime you guys will have me.
Helium Portland, one of the good ones.
Yeah.
And you didn't see any protest or burning city when you were there?
I'll tell you this, Carla. I don't know how you are on the road. I don't know, you've traveled out with Nikki Glazer a lot.
The 5 times I've been.
I don't know how Nikki is on the road, but I'm one of those people who some people can really, really see the city when they're there. I mean, I'm almost jealous of when I look at their Instagrams. I'm like a guy, I don't know if you know Joe List. List. I mean, this guy goes out and takes pictures of museums and goes to see. I don't do anything. I stay in the room. I go out and have lunch, and then I go back to the room.
No, I'm gonna go see things. What's the point? You're seeing the world, at your level on somebody else's dime. So just go.
But here's the thing: it's not on somebody else's dime a lot. A lot of times you'll have to Uber there or back, and by the time, there are times where I get my Lyft thing at the end of the week, and I'm like, "Oh, I've spent $500 on Lyfts to get," because it's a $37 ride to get to the zoo, and a $37 ride back, and so a lot of times it's like, "Oh, forget it."
Yeah, fuck it.
Yeah.
Also, Franjola's a road dog. He's doing like every club around.
Yeah.
How much more of Idaho can you see?
No, there are some cities where you're just like, there is nothing to see.
Like,
here.
all right, I see it.
Listen, we have our Nashvilles and our Chicagos and stuff like that. We're like, oh, this is great. Everything is great. But some cities just like I know what the Home Depot looks like. I have one in my neighborhood, and that's what it is. It's just Home Depot and Target and whatever else. So
can I ask you, who took you out on the road first?
Nobody. I never featured. I just didn't. I just didn't have to. I went right to headliner.
Anything?
No, none of that.
You went right to headliner?
Because the only reason I went right to headliner, I probably shouldn't have, but because I was on Chelsea Lately, and
you could sell tickets.
I had already headlined a little bit up until that point. And then once Chelsea Lately started, everybody just became headliners. Look back now, I'm a much better headliner. Back then, some of the clubs probably like Jesus, but I mean, I had the time, but I probably stretched it a little more than I should have.
How long into your LA journey did you get Chelsea lately?
Oh God, a long 20 years. I thought it was over. I had kind of given up on. I was like, this is not happening for me. So much so that I was working at a restaurant on Sunset Boulevard called Mirabelle. I remember it. I was working with Meghan Markle. I worked with Meghan Markle. She worked there for like 2 years, which I think is fascinating.
Sarah Colonna a lot of stars came out of that Mirabelle.
Yeah, a lot of people came out of there. So anyway, it was, and then I was there. Then I was like, you know what? Is this going to be like the worst thing in the world? I have friends that's their career. My friends in New York, they're waiters, they're bartenders, and then my friend was going to start opening restaurants here on Ventura Boulevard. He still has me. He's called Local Peasant. I don't know if you've been in. There's one in the back. He's got 2. And he has now 4 restaurants around the. And I was going.
You could be managing those.
That's what I said.
Now.
No, and that was my. He pays well. I could have managed for $110,000 a year. Would have been fine.
Yeah,
it's a successful place. So that was the angle. I was like, this is it. I'll just go and work there, and that'll be the end of it. And it wouldn't have been a bad idea. So I was 40 years old when Chelsea started.
Wow.
So it certainly wasn't overnight or anything like that. You know, I mean, I was done.
It's so inspirational to me. Like, I love hearing a later in life success story. It's inspirational for us, right, Alex?
Oh, totally.
Yeah. I mean,
I also think that I see what you assholes are doing.
No, no. I was looking. Here's the thing: is you're a much better comic than I. I was searching for a joke at your expense, and I have none because you are an inspiration.
How dare you? Well, here's the thing. I don't know. It's just I wouldn't have had it any other way. Like, I wouldn't want it. If I was successful at 24, it'd be Jamie Kennedy.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like, it comes, it ebbs and it
Shout
flows.
out, Jamie. We still want you to do the show.
No, I love Jamie Kennedy,
said
but no, I'm saying that it's. You know, you're here, now you're here, then you're here. It's a fucked up world.
I would so much rather make it later in life than to peak early and then have to deal with it knowing nothing else but success.
Right. And so it's, it was great. And I was also able to handle it. Like, you know, Chelsea was a big show. We were kind of I would be a total dick if I was 24 years old and I would go into a bar and people would be like, Chris Franjola from a TV show.
Yeah.
When I was 42, I didn't care. You know, it was just like, it was nice that people did it. But I was like, yeah, TV is TV and it's a job like any other. You know, like you just recognize me because I'm on it. But otherwise, it's the same fucking thing as what you do.
Yeah.
So I never got too big a head about anything or whatever.
I just love whenever you and Kelowna talk about like the old days and being waiters together and stuff. Because you two have come into my bar before.
Yeah.
Chris and Fortune and
we used to work.
Sarah
Chelsea
Kelowna.
we shot right down the road, so we used to come in there quite a bit.
And they came into this bar that I used to work at, whatever. And I had not met Sarah. You said whenever I came to bring the drinks to the table, you know, oh, this is Carlisle. She's a comic. And I just thought it was so kind of her. Like later when I was bringing a drink to her, she said, you know, it's not always going to be like this.
Yeah, true. As a matter of fact.
So kind.
I think Kelowna worked in that place when it was some other thing years before that.
Wow.
And it was like a barbecue place, that same building.
I mean, I can literally drive around LA and just to my boyfriend, I'll just say like, oh, I work there. I work there. I used to work there. I mean, I used to work at the Saddle Ranch Chop House
on Sunset?
On Sunset Strip.
It's the biggest restaurant in town right now.
Sorry if this is too
I remember when that
inside.
place was popping. When it first opened up, I was working in Mirabelle, not far down the road.
You and I were working on the street from each other.
I know. At the same time?
Well, I don't know. This
Probably
was like
not.
early 2000s.
I was gone by then.
I remember I wasn't even old enough to serve alcohol.
Really?
So they couldn't make me a cocktail.
We might have crossed paths for yeah.
I mean, I wasn't doing comedy or anything back then.
But I used to go to Saddle Ranch.
Oh, well, maybe I operated the bull for you.
Did you operate the bull?
That's all I could do. I wasn't 21. I couldn't serve. I would have to wear a cowboy hat. And I used to have really big boobs because I used to be heavier. You know, I'm coming from Mississippi, a little corn-fed. Uh-huh. And they loved for me to get up on that bull and demonstrate. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, if it was a slow lunch, they'd be like, Carlisle, get on the bull. And So that was fun, and I had to wear
I remember
cowboy
when the
hat.
bull just became like, it was just like trying to embarrass fat black ladies on it. You know, like it just became like I would go there and it was just like, can we get them their pants to fall off?
You can operate it in a way that they will fall off.
Yeah.
You know, you got it. I know all the tricks. You give them a minute, you let them think they're doing well, and then you buck their ass right off.
Yeah.
But I became very good at it myself. And I remember the big line I used to have to say when everybody walked in the door. I'd have to go, "Y'all ready for some steaks?" How humiliating!
It's still there.
It's a chop house.
It's still there.
It's still there.
No joke.
Go
During
check it out.
COVID, they're seeding that whole parking lot. There's a line down to the store.
Yep.
Really?
To get
Oh, yeah,
in,
it's one
and
of the-
everyone is in little black dresses and heels. It's the
It still
hottest.
looks like a club.
Yes.
It used to be. I used to go and it was like a club.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're doing that in
they
the parking
set up
lot.
tables in the handicap spot. That's
Really?
the VIP.
Yeah.
Now, like currently?
Yes.
Right
oh my
now.
God, that's crazy.
Right now, it is the busiest spot on Sunset.
That's
now.
Well, I guess I'm happy to hear that because
Yeah.
they used to have one up at Universal that I think they just bulldozed.
I feel
it
like
over.
everything at
It
Universal.
it just never happened.
They're opening at City Walk now. Just the
No,
restaurants though. You can't ride the rides.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's the City Walk ones.
Universal, yeah.
Oh.
They've
Not
decided
not
to
Saddle
open.
Ranch. She's saying City Walk's opening.
Oh, City Walk. Oh, okay. The Saddle Ranch is gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So sorry if that was too inside LA for anybody.
I
but
was just to let you know how connected I was at Saddle Ranch. I was invited to the grand opening of the City Walk Universal one, where they had Alien Ant Farm playing. Alien, remember that? Yeah, they did like a Michael
Annie, are you
Jackson cover.
okay?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Annie, okay.
Oh,
So
yeah,
that's how big a deal I was. I got to see Alien Ant Farm at the Saddle Ranch. Just I don't want to tell you people what it's like to be a celebrity, but it's pretty nice. It's got its perks.
Man, you reached your prime around the time Alien Ant Farm did.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I think he's got a podcast. I'm gonna after this is over. I'm going to do Alien Ant Farm's podcast.
I'm sure he does have one.
Wow.
So after you got Chelsea lately, that was your big break, right? I mean,
That was my only break, my big break. Yeah.
well, and cover to cover. I mean, let's.
Well, that
we're
breaking
New
you've done
Zealand.
David's-
right.
back
I liked
when-
that with David Spade. I did a
Lights
bunch.
Out with
I was
David
loving
Spade.
doing
You
that.
did it twice
Let's
a month
talk
for a
about
while.
that.
I was doing it twice a month. I did it. They were only on not even a year, and I did it 11 times or something.
Yeah.
That is also one of the only paid gigs. Actually, I shouldn't say yours is the only because I did get to write on that a little
Yeah.
bit.
Oh,
that's
for-
great.
It was so
for Nikki
fun,
Glaser.
wasn't it?
So fun.
I know.
And I was lucky enough, she would bring me with her because on the Lights Out with David Spade show, you just get, a list of topics that morning, and then you have very limited time to work on the jokes.
Yeah.
So they have writers and stuff there for you, but a lot of times as a woman, you're sitting in the makeup chair for so many hours, you don't get as much time with those writers. So what Nikki would do is she would bring me or Andrew Collin, and it was just so much fun to be in that environment. I
it was like
miss
real
it.
TV again,
It
because
was
it
a
had
great
they
show.
had nice dressing rooms and right. I think COVID. I mean, I don't know if it was going to survive anyway, because Comedy Central was going to go a different direction.
Yeah.
And they didn't want old men on their network or old women.
They want They want young girl, young.
They want Aquafina.
Gender non-binary
Yeah,
people named after bottled water.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They want 19-year-old Indian people.
They want
But anyway, they don't want David Spade.
Right.
So that's how. But then COVID helped them with like that decision, I think.
But is Comedy Central okay? Do we know?
No,
like,
it's that. No.
So what happened with Comedy Central is the guy who took MTV from music to reality, that guy just took over Comedy Central, and he's going to pretty much wash stand-up out of the program. It's going to be comedy reality programming.
That is not good.
It's going to be trash.
Well, I mean, the great thing about it is what we didn't have years ago is things like you don't need Comedy Central anymore. Comedy Central. You can, look at all these people who've just recently released their specials on their own to YouTube. Josh Wolf, Mark Normand, some of these. I think who's the other one? A bunch of them.
Yeah.
But anyway,
YouTube is the leading platform right now.
Right.
It's crazy that I can have a show that's on the same platform as Paris Hilton's new movie.
Right.
We're on the same
exactly.
network.
Yeah. And
Really?
I love the fact that people can just circumvent all this bullshit. Now, when we started out in this business, acting too, same thing. There was one way to do it, just one way. You had to go into a casting director and get on an NBC network or
Those
ABC.
days are so
that is gone,
over.
and it's only going to get worse or better depending on what side you're coming at it from. So I think for you guys, younger people starting out now, this shit is
This is it.
Microphone and
create,
and you could get paid for it, and there's no agent or manager or once that bullshit starts. And somebody was I think I was talking to Fortune yesterday or whatever. Oh no, who was it? Somebody successful, and they were talking about their pilot, and all the networks didn't wanted this change and that changed, and I'm like, well, that's over now. Like there is no network executives sticking their nose in, and if you want to do it, you put it up on a platform, and that's the way it goes.
Yeah, you don't have to ask for permission anymore.
No,
which is a great. And
I love, as a guy who's never been like an industry darling, I've never been anyone, the agencies and managers never fucking, you sucked my dick because they had, Chris Franjola. Look, we all know the people that they're somehow behind. They're pushing that forward for whatever reason. I've never been it. So seeing them all fail and getting fired is bringing me some kind of joy. Some joy.
I almost feel bad for people who are still in that system, like younger comics who are kind of getting sucked into that because they're losing creative freedom in a time where everyone else is gaining it.
Right.
And it's going to be really hard for them to stay competitive when their agent is going, you should try a stage name, and people are just coming out and just in their garage making stuff that blows up,
Exactly.
I feel sorry for it because one of my jobs before the pandemic and all this was I actually worked at an agency, and so being on the other side of it really made me realize that those days are over of audition. If you're just an actor, that's not going to do it anymore. You got to be if you can't write, do comedy, like you got to be a triple threat to do anything. And there's so many actors that would be on a roster calling, what can I do? I'm like,
what can they do? Like there's nothing.
Start a podcast, start your own show. Like
But here's
it's not
the thing about
80s.
Here's the thing about starting a podcast. I'll say this: like a lot of times people will be like, start a podcast, but you have to be. Like the reason why our podcast is successful is because we're interesting and we do it well. Like there are some people, I'm not one of them, but people just not interesting. They're fucking boring and they have nothing to say.
You are interesting.
I am. I'm saying I am.
He's saying he's not a boring person.
Start a podcast, but whether it's going to be successful or not, that's
how you know.
That's the biggest crapshoot as anything else. That's so.
That's the only thing that's going to tell you. Just don't sit around and wait on the phone to ring because it's not 1992 anymore.
Right.
And we have big stars on our roster.
Really?
And talking about making it early, and it's like you really shoot yourself in the foot because these are like movie stars. They don't have social media.
No.
If you don't have any of those things, you're done.
Yeah,
it's done.
You have to at least have an Instagram
to
page.
show you. I'll give you a perfect example. The other night, I happened to be watching The Masked Singer on Fox. I couldn't believe it. Now they're doing this thing. Oh my God, this never happened before on The Masked Singer. This guy's just going to pull his head off without anyone judging, without him then guessing who it is. He's had enough. He doesn't want to be here anymore. He's going to pull his head off, and he's some big thing. Pulls his hat off. Did you see who this was?
No.
It's Mickey Rourke. Mickey Rourke. Now, Mickey Rourke, by the way, is an Oscar nominated several times. Mm-hmm. If you know Mickey Rourke at all, he's a brilliant actor. Pope of Greenwich Village, done some amazing work.
9.5 weeks.
9.5 weeks has done a bunch of he's been out of this business, back in this business.
Yeah.
If you ever watched The Wrestler, most recent, it's like a perfect movie.
Yeah.
He was the Iron Man. He was in one of the Iron Man movies.
He's the bad guy, right?
Yeah, the bad guy. Like that. So now he's doing The Masked Singer. That's how ruthless this fucking business can be.
I heard one episode of it is a house payment.
No,
so
I don't begrudge him for that. I totally understand that. That's why he's doing it.
Yeah.
Because they gave him $200,000 to show up for one day, basically.
Right.
Same with Dancing with the Stars. It's the same thing.
And see, if you name that, like so many celebrities throw that under the bus, and that is a goal of mine.
Yeah.
So Dancing with the Stars. Ready when you are, because let's face it, that bar is getting lower and lower with the word star.
No. Like the thing with Dancing with Anne Heche got voted off last night or something, and she had a freak. And that's another one. Anne Heche was a movie star.
Yeah.
She was in a Harrison Ford movie, and now she's pissed off that she got voted off.
She told a very heart-wrenching story last night. Did you see
I
Dancing
did.
with
I
the
just
Stars?
happened to read that she was voted off.
She was saying that, whenever she dated Ellen DeGeneres, I guess she had a contract with Fox, and they had some big movie coming out, and they said, if you show up with your girlfriend to the premiere, no more contract.
Wow.
And Ellen told her, listen to them. I don't care. I'll stay home. And she said, no, you're coming. You know, and they walked hand in hand to that premiere, and they fired her, and she did not work for 10 years.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, hopefully we're in a different world now,
We're in such a different world. I mean, isn't that crazy? And that wasn't that long ago. That was, late 90s or something. I remember when they were the big power couple. And nowadays, that would get her a contract.
Exactly. Right. The head of that network would be fired, and it's crazy. Yeah, whatever. What a world we're living in. So happy to be a part of the show.
So if you didn't watch Dancing with the Stars, I don't know where else we have to go from here. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
Big fan.
I used to be a big fan. I used to love it. I used to watch it. I was into it. I trained. We did a sketch on Chelsea Lately where the one, I don't know if you remember her a few years ago. She's not on it anymore. She's one of the female Russian dancer. What was her name? She was like the big, kind of the breakout star of it.
Peta?
Yeah, exactly. Petra.
Yeah.
She wound up training us for the dance, and I was dancing with Ross Matthews, and I think Heather McDonald was dancing with Chewy or some shit, and whatever. And we did a whole thing.
R.I.P.
Yeah, we did a whole thing, and so I got to hang with her for a couple of days, and she was like and I was so bad. Like,
how hot was that body?
Oh, she's amazing and funny and whatever. But for people on that show, it's hard to be a good dancer.
It is so hard. So my best friend Nikki Glazer was on it, and if you guys watch, she did get first voted off, and she
yeah, I remember. The only reason she got first voted off is because she wasn't like nobody knows who. It wasn't just
nobody
like a big
knew
star.
She was. Yeah, but they always put a comedian on, and I think they put the comedian on as the fall guy.
Yeah, of course.
Jeff Ross went first too. I think Margaret
Adam
Cho
Carolla,
might have made it a little further, but I feel like they think the comedians can take it. We can kick them off early, and the water will roll off their back. But the work. You don't it's like 9 hours a day in a dance studio, and you're in this bubble. I mean, people joke about it, but it's a real thing. Whenever you see them crying, those are real tears because they're like Russian slave drivers.
Yeah, they don't fuck around.
They're so hot, but they're so mean.
Yeah. That's why I can't be like a network executive. If you told me years ago, like, we're going to do a show where, C-list celebrities dance with dancers, I'd be like, that's never going to work. And 27 seasons later, it's still going. Like, what do I know about anything?
More. It's like, 30 seasons or something.
Yeah, it's crazy, but good for them.
I just want a Russian slave driver. Where do I get one of those?
Doesn't that sound great?
You just go deep in the valley.
Yeah, you'll find one.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us here for the hang.
This was a good little hang.
Oh, thank you.
It was.
And I've enjoyed being in your beautiful backyard.
Thank you for coming. Now it's getting a little warmer, as you can see. That's what happens. It's going to be real nice in December.
Thank you for reminding me that Alien Ant Farm was a thing.
Ow!
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
That was
that's a Michael Jackson song. I just want you to know.
I do know that.
I know some of you kids don't know that. Maybe you don't know that was a remake of a Michael Jackson song.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you guys, this was a good hang. Thank you both for being here. And
Thank you, Carlisle. It's so good to see you again.
It's so good to see you.
I'm happy that things are well.
Let's
Thank
go do
you
more
for doing
gigs.
cover to cover.
Thank you. Everybody go listen to me on Cover to Cover. You got to join their Patreon, though, because I'm not big enough to be on the real Cover to Cover.
You could be if you didn't fuck up this Patreon one.
Look,
this was your test.
I kind of bombed, but, I'll come back.
Our audience loved the NoHo Comedy Club. They love it.
I get too inside baseball. Well, my fans know.
Every comedian does that.
We all do it.
Though.
I just talk about my own world.
Totally.
But
as comedians, we think that's the only world. I'm guilty of it too.
Yeah.
I'll sit and talk NoHo forever, but
And then we get kicked off of Dancing with the Stars first.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the problem with that. So Cover to Cover is the podcast. You can get it wherever podcasts are found.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you both so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.